The franchise hot seat is for information and entertainment purposes and is not an offer to sell franchises. If the hot seat introduces you to a franchise concept that interests you, you must do your own due diligence before making an investment. Welcome to the Franchise Hot Seat. I'm your host, John Hayes, Director of the Franchise Center at Palm Beach Atlantic University. On today's episode of the Franchise Hot Seat, we feature a concept to be evaluated by our Dream Team. Let me introduce you to the Dream Team. CEO of United Franchise Group, Ray Titus. Managing Partner at Planet Fitness Midwest, John Clancy. MPK Equity Partners, Patrick McGee. President and co-owner of Fran Fund Incorporated, Sherry Seaver. First up in the hot seat.
Kidokinetics is a mobile fitness program for children. We go to parks, preschools, and community centers, introducing kids to fitness and fun. They're learning sports, but not even realizing it.
They can learn hockey, soccer, tennis, golf, volleyball.
What I like most about Kidokinetics is that it gets my daughter up and moving and outside. It gives kids confidence from setting a goal for themselves, working hard, and achieving it. And that confidence they can apply to so many other things.
We follow the national sports and physical education standards, so we are taking care of all your sports and physical education needs.
So I go to NYU and I play basketball. I'm the starting point guard and captain. Kidokinetics really helped me develop from an early age, install that early mentality of working out every day, how it's great for your body, athletics and training, and how if you want to get somewhere, you just have to train, put that work in, and make it all happen.
We also teach them anatomy and physiology and sportsmanship, balance, coordination, tying everything together in a well-rounded program.
Kidokinetics provides physical education to schools, whether it's 1 hour, 3 hours, 3 times a week. We do PE for schools. I'm the director here at the SOAR JCC Heron Lakes Family Center. A parent came up to me today and was interested in doing our enrichment program with Kidokinetics because she was saying that her son was going home and talking about exercising and being healthy and the different body parts and all things like that. So she was really excited, which makes us excited when we hear parents getting to hear about it too.
Kidokinetics can work with pretty much any school, any age, any location. We'll cater to their needs.
If you're thinking about putting your child through Kidokinetics, it's a great opportunity for them to understand from an early age how sports and other athletic competitions could help them grow in the future.
I would invite all parents with infants and even little kids to enroll in Kidokinetics because it's a fitness program, but in a fun way.
Dave, Terry, welcome to the Franchise Hot Seat. Tell us a little bit about Kidokinetics.
Thank you for having us here today. Kidokinetics is a physical education program that introduces kids to all sports in a non-competitive environment. We are a program that goes to schools, preschools, parks, community centers. We introduce sports. We're working on all the children's physical educational needs, the gross motor needs that are required for kids. At schools, we go into schools and we'll do physical education for a school, so a school doesn't have to outsource. They'll outsource us for PE, and then we'll do enrichment programs as well. We start anywhere from ages 6 months up to 12 years old.
Terry's been working on the Kidokinetics business for over 20 years. I met Terry a little over 2 years ago after sunsetting from another franchise company, and we decided to become business partners and start to work together. And so since that time, we've been focused on growing the system, and we've grown it to now 40 units throughout the country, and we're adding 4 to 5 new units a month at this point. And so it's been growing really well. And we're excited about the way that our business has grown. One of the challenges that we'd like to talk about today is that we rolled out a new program earlier this year where we're offering a more passive investor model for franchise ownership. So we have the kind of 2 more traditional models of owner-operator. We also have a semi-absentee model, but we're now rolling out a passive model where, as a franchisor, we take on the responsibility of hiring management for the location and managing that manager and basically operating the location. So that brings to the table some unique challenges and some additional risk. And so that's the subject we'd like to talk about today and learn a little bit about your perspective on that approach to the business and franchise.
Traditionally, there haven't been many franchise opportunities for investors. Franchisors prefer the owner-operator model simply because the owner who invests the money is likely to do everything possible to protect the money. But in recent years, especially post-pandemic, with the upswing in franchising and the creation of the gig economy, the doors have opened to investors. However, most franchisors don't offer an investor model, and longtime franchisors are either against it or sitting on the fence. Our panel will dig deeper into Kidokinetics' performance, and in doing so, they'll form strong opinions about this brand. Let's get back to the interrogation.
Can you share with us a bit more about the economic model?
And the economic model is it's a one-to-many teaching model. So we send in a coach to typically teach anywhere from 10 to 30 kids throughout the course of the programming. That may be 1, 2, or 3 classes of 30 to 40 minutes each. Parents are typically paying anywhere from $12 to $16 per class to have their kids participate, and then we pay the coach by the hour to go in and execute on the class. And so the margins are really high in the business, which is really nice about what we do, and it allows us to have some extra cash to be able to do marketing and hire general managers and things along those lines.
Who negotiates the contracts with the schools? Is that done at the corporate level or individual franchise?
Yeah, for the most part, it's at the local level. Even the larger chain schools, they have autonomy over those decisions at the local level. So many of the businesses we do business with are also franchises, and they're usually the franchise ownership or the executive directors that are running those facilities are responsible for negotiating those contracts.
Give us an idea of the unit economics with the franchisees. Do you do an item 19 in your disclosure document?
Yeah, we do. We have a pretty well-developed item 19. We have Terry's first franchise that's been open now since 2008 is a highlight of our item 19. And so he's actually in the Dallas area, and we've got a full P&L on his business. We also have a full P&L on Terry's local business in South Florida. And then we also show revenue numbers from across the system.
What do those numbers look like?
The high point is right around $500,000 in system, or not in system-wide sales, but in the Dallas unit, for example. And so the range is all the way down in terms of newer locations starting out lower, but the average unit volumes are in the 200 to 300, 400,000 range.
And what kind of margins do you have on 2 to 3, 400,000?
30 to 40%. It depends a lot on whether it's owner operated or whether you're operating with a general manager. Owner operated, obviously a little bit higher, with the general manager at about a $50,000 to $60,000 expense load, brings it into about the mid-30s net.
So talk about item 7 a little bit. What's your total project cost for a new franchisee?
For a single territory, it's right around $80,000 to get started. Most of the time we're doing multiple territory deals, so a 2-territory program is typical for us. The initial fees for 2 territories is right around $100,000, and then you can expect to spend about another $50,000 getting the business up and running. So $80,000 to $150,000, maybe as many as high as $200,000 if you're doing 3 territories.
And what has been your approach to franchise development?
We use a franchise sales organization currently to help us with that. So we brought them on about 18 months ago, knowing that we wanted to get out of the gate quickly.
What I've experienced is if you demonstrate that you can make franchisees a lot of money, they come to you. You don't need a broker. What is your plan, or do you have one, or what is your goal to get your AUV higher than the 200 or 300? Because if you're at a 30% margin there, if you can get it to 400, 500, 600,000 with that same margin, and you think the margin may even increase as volume goes up, do you have a plan, a goal of getting an AUV higher than 200 or 300?
Yeah, quite a bit higher actually. When we look at the peers in our segment, there's one company that stands out that has about a 15-year track record. They're much bigger than we are. And their average unit volume for multi-territory owners is close to 800,000 with a similar 35, 36% net. Their top franchisee did about $4 million in a single market. And so we kind of know what that looks like at scale. We and they are essentially in the same exact business. The main difference is that we're a multi-sport program and they're a single sport program. Otherwise, the business model is essentially the same. So our business model is actually really simple from a sales perspective. It comes down to 2 things. One, get into schools, and when you are in a school, get enrollment at the school. And so we look at those two kind of elements of growth as the main drivers for each individual location. We started up a direct mail program that goes out to these schools to kind of warm up the market for new franchises, getting going, and then we actually do some telemarketing behind that to call those schools and talk to them about our programs. We're able to set up some demonstrations with schools and so forth, and then we deploy field sales support to go out in the field and actually call on these schools physically, which has made a really big difference.
How many franchisor-owned units do you have?
I personally own a 3-unit business in Tampa, and Terry has the original business in South Florida. The rest of them are all independent franchises.
And you're running those absentee, those 3 that you have in Tampa?
Yeah, I have barely I took my manager to lunch. That's about as much time as I've spent there.
Who is your ideal candidate?
Well, I would say, first off, we're very much a mission-driven company. So we're interested in candidates that are really focused on our mission as an organization, which is to get kids up and moving. That's Terry's original vision from the very beginning, and we care more about that than we do anything else.
I love your model. If you're 30% at 200 or 300, you just got to figure out how to get that AUV. And with your franchise or owned units, if you can develop beta tests to raise that AUV, I mean, you have a real kind of a secret, in my opinion, that if it gets out, you're not paying brokers anymore.
We can always count on multi-concept franchisee John Clancy zeroing in on the AUV. That is the average unit volume of a franchise location or unit. To arrive at the AUV, franchisors add the sales for all the units in their network over a 12-month period and then divide by the total number of units in the network to determine the AUV. Well, for John and many investors like him, the AUV may be the most important consideration in determining whether or not to buy a franchise. In fact, when it's an attractive number, John says there's no need for a franchisor to use franchise brokers to sell the units. Well, that may not be everyone's opinion, but let's get back to the story.
Right. No, I would agree with that. I think I'm a big believer that, most of success in a lot of things comes down to execution. And so we're focused on the execution, right? The business model in and of itself isn't going to grow the AUV. It's got to come down to getting the right franchise owners on board, developing the business development part of the system to refine it to a point where it's almost fail-proof, and then focus on those
However,
elements.
You need to prove it first with your franchisor-owned units. Then you'll get the proper franchisee, the well-funded franchisee, to come in and light the fire under the business.
Well, that's kind of what I was getting to, John, with the idea of his 3 in Tampa. Maybe that is the example that you have there, that you could use that for multiplying this with the absentee ownership scenarios.
But percentage of revenue, how much are you spending on marketing?
At the unit level, very little. It's 1 or 2, 3% at the most.
That's your issue. You're not marketing. You're not marketing your business. The reason your AUV is low is you're not reaching out to the businesses.
It's a very small audience that we talk to. There, in a given territory, there may be 150 schools, right? So we're not marketing to a broad audience. We're not marketing to the general public. We're marketing to our channel partners. So it's the Goddard schools, the Primrose, the Ivy schools, et cetera.
How are you contacting them?
Well, we start with a direct mail program. Okay. So when we launch a new franchise, we send a direct mail piece out to all the targets that we can find in all of their territories, which is usually between 100 and 200 schools per territory, and that goes out, right around the time they're finishing training. Then we follow that up with a phone call. So we're telemarketing to those targets, trying to get in there to do a demo and just kind of show our services. Then from there, we do boots on the ground. So the most effective way that we have to get our schools signed up is to go pull those door handles and go in and talk to those executive directors. So we're not mass marketing. I would agree with you if we were marketing to the end consumer. That's a different play. We get to the end consumer through our channel partner, which is the school. Once we get into the school, getting the parents is really easy. It's the getting the school part. And honestly, they're not resistant at all. They're very open to the concept. In many cases, they're already working with other enrichment programs, so they kind of get what we do. It's just the old-fashioned sales work that you have to do to go in and do the follow-ups, and you talk to somebody one day and call me back next month and that type of thing. And you just got to work the channel. And so we've got a CRM that we use to help us with that. But it's a very direct, targeted audience that's relatively small.
I've got just a slightly different view. I hear what John is saying about the potential for AUVs to get bigger, but the AUVs that you have right now are clearly really appealing to a certain type of franchisee, and your startup cost is low. There's no need for brick and mortar, and so this is like a really exciting opportunity for someone to get their feet wet as an entrepreneur. And at many of our brands, each of our portfolio companies does franchise development differently, but we've had a ton of success with the broker community, and really appreciate their partnership we have with those brands and the high quality franchisees that they're bringing us. And the beautiful thing about franchising is every franchisee looks different, and every franchisee has a different return they're looking for, a different lifestyle balance they're trying to strike, and a different amount of funding capacity in their bank account. I applaud you guys for this model that certainly works and will continue to work for a lot of people.
And for better or for worse, the broker community has aggregated the high quality candidates. Like they're getting a lot of them, a big chunk of that channel. And so I've kind of gotten used to paying that amount and kind of gotten used to that whole structure. And while we'll take all the organic we can get, and we do want to eventually work towards doing more, non-broker channel leads, a path to getting to that royalty break even or that royalty self-sufficiency break point is much easier through the broker channel. It's just faster.
Well, guys, we really want to thank you for sharing your story with us here at the Franchise Hot Seat. And I feel like this is an excellent business model that's been proven by a couple other competitors out there. You do have a twist on it with the idea of different sports and bringing that in. I don't know if I'm high on the passive ownership yet. I haven't heard enough of that to understand that, but I do think selling it in multiple packs could be really profitable for you. I do think you should sprinkle in some direct sales where you balance between the broker sales and the direct. But overall, I'm very hot on this brand. I think you've done a really good job on the branding, and I think you've got a really good thing here that you can build on.
Thank you.
I also think that you have a great start there, and you've put together an impressive brand, and I'm sure that you are gaining a lot of interest from that. I would like to see you consider the cost model a little bit more, because I think that will put you on a different level of investor, a different type of franchisor, maybe one that's not it's a passion project, but maybe they're happy with that being a passive position. And so I think you have a lot of potential. I think you're with a great network that is helping you with sales, and I'm also hot on the brand.
That's great. Thank you, Sherry.
Yeah, I love your unit economics. 30% at 200 or 300. Most businesses at 200 or 300 would be happy to be at 15%. You're doubling that. Your unit economics are very, very impressive. I see a lot of businesses. It's rare to see a 30% at that AUV, so I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, congratulations on continuing to build a great business. I too am hot on Kidokinetics. It's a great brand, making a difference in kids and families' lives across the country, and I'm excited to watch you all continue to grow.
Thank you, Franchise Hot Seat, for having us on.
You're welcome. Great job.
Our panel loves the model, especially the AUV, and it's unusual for a brand to get 4 hot endorsements, but good for Kidokinetics. They didn't get a lot of feedback about their investor model, but let's see what Dave and Terry thought about the panel's assessments.
I thought it went great. It's just great to hear from the experts, some kind of criticism that kind of helps you grow and things that can make you do better. And I think that's what I've found in the franchise industry, that everybody's always so open to giving ideas and wanting everybody to succeed. And I think just hearing them I think they want to see us succeed, and their input was valuable.
Yeah, I think we can take some of the stuff that we learned. I think a couple of great points were brought up today. I feel like I'm always learning in franchising, and to Terry's point, I really appreciate the openness that other people in franchising have, towards franchisors about, their personal experiences and backgrounds. And so anytime I can hear from people that are smart and know what they're talking about and can add value to, what we're trying to accomplish, I'm all ears.
Thanks for joining us for the Franchise Hot Seat. And remember, our purpose is to inform and educate. We are not selling franchises. Do your homework before investing in any business. Franchising is a powerful methodology for business ownership, and it may be the best way for you to own a business and build personal wealth. But franchising is not without risk, and it's not for everyone. Some quick thank yous to our sponsors. Transworld Business Advisors is the world leader in the marketing and sales of businesses, franchises, and mergers and acquisitions. They've got 240 offices worldwide. Accurate Franchising is a full-service consulting and development agency that helps franchise companies develop their brands and then expand via franchise sales. Crank Enterprises is a venture marketing company introducing a modern-day twist to private equity. Their mission: turn ideas into dough. You want to sit in the franchise hot seat, or do you have a question for the Titus Center? Contact me at tituscenter.com. I'm John Hayes, leading the Titus Center for Franchising, where we're educating the next franchise generation.